Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Finale, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 303. This is also a monumental broadcast because it is the 300th in a row. So we have been 300 weeks in a row. We will be hitting our 6-year anniversary in June, but today is being broadcast on March 29th, 2024. We've got the one, the only, the great Ryan Young. I am so fortunate, Ryan, to have so many great people on this broadcast, including the greats of John Cheplack, Kyle Whistle, Bill Pipes, Brett Sikora, so many others that I can name, plus local agents that come on to talk about our market and stuff. And now we have you. You're the CEO of team leader in Remax. I'm sorry, I've got this all fucked up. Let me start all over again.
What I thought you told me was I allowed to cuss or not allowed to cuss? Because now I'm getting a lot more excited about if cussing is an option. So.
Oh no, cussing is an option. You can curse all you want because I just did, I guess, right? So anyway, you know what? I tell you what. Let me clear my head. Let's get started. Hit the videotape.
I like it.
Real estate agents, are you looking to acquire clients consistently to grow your business and income for a great lifestyle? Well, this is Dave Finale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and the Modern Agent team.
Okay, here we are. We're getting a fresh start here.
I like it.
KW team leader in Ohio, one of the top teams in the country. Also, co-founder and CEO of a little thing called Fello, which is really, really cool. And I want you to know, Ryan, I run boot camps. I work with the Align team out here in northern New Jersey. And you are an example I used today about your 30 listings and 30 listing appointments in 30 days today. But I prefaced it with your technology where you help get seller leads.
Right.
So before we get into that, I do have one question. But by the way, everybody, this broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 303, is brought to you by njheroesprogram.com. That is a simple program where if you're a hero in one way or the other, where you are military, retired military, veteran, law enforcement, healthcare professional, postal worker, and municipal worker, we will save you money in buying and selling homes. So just reach out, go to njheroesprogram.com to see if you qualify. And here we are Real Estate Talk TGIF number 303. The question I have to ask you is, what does TGIF stand for?
All right. Thank goodness it's Friday.
Man, I want to thank you so much for trying. It looked like you really struggled with that for a second.
I thought that was a trick. Is this a trick question?
No, thank God it's finale.
Oh, thank God it's finale. I was gonna say, I'm like, I got a feeling like I should know this answer, and it's like I just reverted back to what I've been saying for the past 25 years of my life, where I'm excited to get out of school, get into the weekend. When I'm out, excited to get out of work, get into the weekend. So,
well, it's funny, when we're all in production. Thank God it's Friday means okay.
It's Friday. Yeah.
But it means we haven't stopped, right? It just means a different day, right?
Well, funny thing, in kind of an intro into my life, my background, I'm a culinary guy, right? And so thank goodness it's Friday was really thank goodness it's Sunday, which means that normally the restaurant would be closed like Sunday, Monday, or Monday, Tuesday. And so, growing up in a restaurant cooking, Friday, we didn't have weekends. Our weekends were like Monday, Tuesday. And then I moved in the hospitality industry out in Las Vegas, and everyone was you would ask people out there because everyone was in hospitality, and when you'd say to someone, you'd say, what's your weekend? And they'd be like, oh, Wednesday, Thursday, or oh, Sunday, Monday. Everyone had a different weekend. So it's so funny that getting into real estate, I still haven't yet found the right profession where like on Friday at 4 p.m. or whatever time people in the world take off, you just shut it down until Monday at 8 a.m. or whatever,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So as you started talking about what you're doing, let's go there. That's where I usually start. Talk to us about your journey, like where you went from. Maybe it was high school, college, culinary school in this instance. Talk about your background, where you came from to be where you are today as one of the top team leaders in the country, as well as we'll get into Fello in a little while.
Yeah, so kind of a unique background, maybe not that unique, I don't know. Graduated high school and was cooking full time at a restaurant during my high school years. I absolutely loved it, was absolutely like obsessed with being in the kitchen, just thought it was super cool. Decided after high school to go to culinary school in upstate New York, the Culinary Institute of America, and graduated from there when I was 20, had my associate's degree and started cooking. I was in Chicago and then I moved out to Las Vegas, had some amazing restaurant jobs. While I was in Vegas, I said, you know, what else is there to this culinary world? Let me go into hospitality. So I went to UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas to get my hospitality degree. And next thing you know, I'm 25. I finally graduated with a bachelor's degree when all my friends graduated, you know, 3-4 years ago. They're all in their entry-level jobs, starting their careers. And I'm kind of like, man, I'm 25. I just graduated college. I'm still working in the restaurants and bars and nightclubs and kind of in that side. And I'm like, what am I doing? And so like any 25-year-old, I think I just turned 26. I reached out to my folks back in Cleveland, Ohio and said, Mom, Dad, you're going to think I'm crazy, but what do you think about me joining you in your real estate team? It was just the two of them, and completely getting out of the hospitality industry. And they welcomed me back with open arms. This was 2009, probably the worst possible time to get into the real estate industry. And, you know, I put in my time. I was doing everything while I was also working in restaurants in Cleveland. And then finally, and I think it was 2012, I finally got to a point, I'm like, I'm about to be 30 years old. If we're going to do this, let's do this. I need to commit to this. I need to quit the restaurant. And we started building in like 2012. I kind of took over the team in 2013. And then year over year, it was just became obsessed with growth and surrounding myself with people that I aspired to be. And before you know it, fast forward 10 years later, you know, we're selling 500 homes a year. We have a team of about 30 people. And it's just incredible what we built. You know, you look back and all of a sudden it's like, wow, from 2009 to where we are now. And it's like, you blink your eye and it's a pretty established real estate organization.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed over the past number of years and being involved in more so of this broadcast and people I've met is I've noticed one thing that is really interesting is that the people that are leading our industry today, such as yourself, and just I'll throw some names out like Kyle Whistle and Dan Beer and some others. It's not that they got their license in 2008 or 9. It's that they really started to say, you know what, screw it, let's rock. And it was that time, you know, it was between 2008 and 2013, where the leaders, they built their mindset back then and moved forward. Now I know, I mean, look, man, I mean, I don't know if it was the cooking, it was the food. I mean, for me, I love to cook and I love to eat. So it gets pretty expensive when you find expensive places. But talk to me about the draw to the cooking, because that always going to interest me. Right. And then what was the cut? What was the time when you needed to make a change?
Yeah, so I started in a restaurant when I was 16. Actually, I think I was 15. I was like as a prep, just prepping in the kitchen in the summer times. And, you know, I just thought these guys were like, that were in the kitchen were just super cool. They came in late, they stayed late. They, you know, all smoked cigarettes by the dumpster after a long shift. Like they were, you know, it's just one of those things. I was like, man, these guys, they all have tattoos and stuff. And I'm like, these guys are just cool. And so it was like one of those things. I just became like really like intrigued within the industry and the fast paced and, you know, the highs. And once the ticket starts like, you know, and it starts like printing more and more tickets. And before you know it, it's 7 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock at night. And then all of a sudden the ticket, you know, the orders start slowing down and it's like, wow, that was intense. I just always loved that like high and low of the night of like, there were points where you just were in the zone, you know? And so it was like at 16 years old, 17, 18, it's what I just made my commitment to like, this is what I'm going to do for my life. And I absolutely love it. Well, the challenge was then all of a sudden I turned 21 and 22 and 23 and 24. And the next thing you know, it's like, I didn't get to go home during holidays because I was working in the restaurant. I didn't get weekends off because I was working. And I started finding a lot of my like close childhood friends and my family started having all of these memories without me. So occasionally when I would get back home, they'd be like, man, remember 3 years ago when we all went here? And I'd be like, well, I wasn't here, you know? And all of a sudden I found like, I really wasn't around that much because I was always in this opposite schedule of what all of them were. And so that was finally where it really started to weigh on me of like, I'm 25 at the time. I felt like my life was like over, you know, I'm like, I'm 25. I got to make a decision. What do I really want in life? Do I want family and friends and that side of my life? And if I do, the hospitality industry is probably not the best place because your true friends in the hospitality industry are people that are in the hospitality industry, you know? And so that's where all of a sudden I started thinking about it. And when you're 25, 26 years old, you have a culinary degree and a degree in hospitality management. I've been in college the last 7 years while I'm working 2 other jobs, stuff like that. What other industries can you get into? I wasn't ready to like start back over and go into like business school or, you know, I didn't have no formal training, college education, whatever it was. In real estate is such just like the logical choice of like, well, my folks are in it. You don't really need much to get your license. You go to school for 120 hours, which I did in 2 weeks. And all of a sudden it was just like, well, maybe this is the logical choice to get me back home, to get me back surrounded by my family and stuff like that. So I was like, let's take a chance and see what happens. And 15 years later, here we are.
Yeah, it's always really interesting to me. And why I asked those questions I did is because, you know, in our industry, in real estate, people come from all over the place. And we had a woman on, Tessa Sims, a number of weeks ago that talked about she works with new agents transitioning from other corporate jobs, et cetera, et cetera. And your transition was you were always in hospitality. So that kind of leans to itself to customer service, you would think, right? And then it was just, you know, what your thirst was, what you wanted. People like I know in my family, I'm the youngest of 8. I know most of my family left, you know, the area what we grew up in and never came back, right? So it's like, okay, what are the loves? What's the driving force? And as I said, in our business, you know, people have different reasons for getting into real estate. I do and have interviewed and talked to people that did get out of high school and say, I'm going to be a real estate agent, which is very rare. That's why I asked the question. So, okay. So you make the move back and you go start working with your family. Talk to me about how you got started. Talk to me what the challenges were, because we talk every day about, I've worked with a lot of new agents, and you know, it's sometimes for me as a trainer, as a coach, as a mentor, it's difficult for me to translate, you know, what they're trying to do and what they have to do because there's these limiting beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. Talk to me about your transition, how you got started and how you started rocking.
Yeah. So when I first moved back, I mean, this was not the best time to be in real estate, 2009, right? Going into 2010. You know, I was living in my folks' basement for the first 2 years while I was working at a restaurant, while I was like putting signs in yards for my folks. I was taking pictures. I was doing MLS input. I was working rentals. I was working whatever I could, you know? And it's probably the biggest gripe that I have with today's like modern day agent. We join teams and like, we get these agents into productivity within 12, 24 months. And it's like, they never like went through the, like everything that I was doing had nothing even to do with it. I mean, it was real estate driven. But then I finally started to get a little bit more confidence. I started getting on the phones. I started actually making outbound calls, and I started to become like really obsessed with like the outbound component of like, let me actually drive business. Started hitting we had a lot of expireds in 2012, 2013, like that. Did a lot of FSBOs, people that were underwater on their home, couldn't afford to sell. And so I started building our business through this like outbound motion of like, every day I'm going to go in and I'm going to make a commitment to, you know, I was 28, 29 years old. So it's not like I had like a huge network of people that wanted to buy and sell homes. Most of my friends didn't even live here. So I started hitting the phones really hard. And I know it's kind of, you know, it's not like the most like unique story, but it's like, next thing I know, I was setting a listing appointment a week. When it expired, you know, next thing I know, I'm setting a couple of listing appointments a week. And before you know it, I had too much business that I couldn't even continue to manage myself, or we had to start scaling a team, you know?
Okay. So how long did it take you to actually get started?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you started in the business to actually start producing.
I would say it took me, I'd say about 18 months was where I started to see consistency in production. Okay. From like when I actually started making a commitment to it full time, I actually got like into this wearing my sales hat and saying, my job is to drive revenue through listings and buyers. I would say like 18 months was like all of a sudden where all of a sudden my business became very predictable versus over the course of that 18 months, I might have like a good week, but then I'd have 2 weeks where I get hung up on, I wouldn't set a single appointment, whatever it is. I got to a point after about 18 months where it was like, I knew every week what my outcome of that week would be just by my input, you know?
That's a really important point you just made. I mean, by what you did, you knew what was going to happen, and you could predict exactly what you needed to. You could tell yourself what you needed to do in order to have this kind of production. Is that correct?
100%. And look, some weeks maybe were a little bit light, and some weeks were a little bit heavy. But I knew at the end of the month, when you start to average it all out, and at the end of a quarter and at the end of the year, all of a sudden my business became a lot more predictable. As long as I did the things that I knew I needed to do that ultimately impacted the outcome. Now, what's interesting is once you get past that 18 months and you start seeing consistency and predictability, then what happens is then all of a sudden you start to get a little lazy, because then you start getting a couple phone calls that come into you, right? Then all of a sudden the client that you helped sell their home that was an expired 6 months ago refers you someone. So then all of a sudden you get a little taste of like, whoa, maybe I don't need to work this hard. Maybe I don't need to be in that phone booth all day long, the call booth, because I'm getting, and then what happens is it ends up actually, I would say, crippling your business when you become all of a sudden reliant on inbound, something that you can't control, right? And so then all of a sudden I was like, I saw a little bit of like kind of a little bit of a dip, and then it made me realize like, I got to stick to the consistency, to the predictability, and all that other inbound stuff is just going to be cherry on top, you know?
So, okay, you said 18 months. And when agents thinking about getting in this business, hear you say 18 months, that might scare them away. Is it required for people to take that long to get into production? Not required, but
18 months, if 18 months scares you away, my recommendation or my reaction to that is good. Maybe you shouldn't be in this industry, right? If I said to every doctor, hey, unfortunately, you got to go to school for 10 years. And they were like, well, that's just way too long. It's like, well, then you shouldn't be a doctor, right? Like I only want to go to school for 6 months or 12 months or 3 years or whatever it is. It doesn't mean that you can't move faster than that. But if you're not prepared to invest in your skill set, in immersing yourself in education and knowledge and learning from other people, how quickly can you absorb as much information as it takes to help people make really large financial decisions, understand market intelligently? Now, what's interesting is within our team, we have a team now. We fast track and expedite all that. I would say our average team member is about a 6-month fast track where I feel really confident that they should be doing their thing. They should feel pretty confident when they're talking to a buyer or seller. But I would even say, even with us fast tracking our team members that get onboarded, I would say by the time we hit 18 months is where they actually feel really comfortable. They start to see some predictability. They start to see some consistency. That I think is really where like that 18-month cliff is like where you can really start to say like, okay, I actually know this is a career. Like I don't have to worry about my next, I don't have to worry about where my next commission is, because I look at my pipeline and I see predictability within what I've built over the first 18 months that I know is going to produce income over the next 18 months, you know?
Yeah. That's great. And we're not saying that they're not going to do any business for 18 months.
No.
We're just talking about building a business where you're going to see predictability.
We're talking about predictability and consistency. Look, I've had some agents join our team and they sell 3 homes within their first 30 days. And they're like, this is amazing. I'm going to be a millionaire, right? And then 3 months go by and they literally don't sell a single home. And they're like, this is the worst. I can't make it, right? And then the next month they sell 4 homes and they're like, I'm back. What I'm suggesting is once you hit that 18-month, you've now built a pipeline for 18 months of people that will start transacting over the next 8 years, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
And the goal is to focus on building that foundation of your business over the first 18 months. While you're still working on new business, you have now some of the existing business that you've already talked to start to mature into opportunities, you know?
Yeah. I think that's so important in that what you've talked about is building a business to a career, and it doesn't happen overnight, and you can do business and move forward. Let's talk about a little differentiation, which I noticed when we talked about it the other day, is we go to your team site and go to your site, your website. And one of the things I see, and we talked about this the other day, was a lot of people say on their website, what's the value of your home? Yours says, start with a guaranteed offer. Okay. Talk to me a bit about that and the differentiation that you believe in your business, because this is really important.
Yeah. So we didn't always start with this message, right? And it's taken iterations and maturation for us to get to where we are, right? But one of the things that's interesting about our team, you know, we sell about 500 homes a year. We're about 60% listings. So we've always been more seller focused.
Right.
We have found that a very compelling message to sellers to create a hook or attachment or connection is get a guaranteed offer on your home, get a cash offer on your home, get an instant offer, whatever it may be. The reason why this is really important for us is, well, it's not like the highest intent lead. It's a solid intent lead. What it does is it builds our homeowner or seller database very quickly, right? Now, we are very fortunate. We work with different companies that actually fulfill that message and get our clients those offers. Along with, I'm willing to buy homes as well. I've bought several hundred over the past couple of years. So it's like we fulfill the message. We stay true to that message. But what we found was that it just helps us build that seller database very fastly and creates a lot of demand, inbound demand from sellers. And so if you're comfortable with a little bit more of an aggressive message, like get a guaranteed offer, you will see, and you drive traffic to that message, you will see a much higher conversion inbound than you would if it was something like get your home value or, you know, sell your home or whatever it may be.
Right. I get that. Okay. So, all right. So you start with a differentiation point. You're building, you keep using this phrase database. Okay. So you have your website and you're doing things in a different way, and your call to action is a little different, and you're being aggressive with that punch actually. Right. So now we move over, you're doing a lot of business yourself and you've got the team working. Talk to me about Fello. Where does Fello come into all of this?
Yeah. So like I said, our business has been kind of like multiple iterations. We used to lean very heavily into the guaranteed sale message. If we can't sell your home, we'll buy it guaranteed. Which I ended up buying homes. I ended up starting to buy homes, and this was like 2019. And all of a sudden we started realizing that like real estate agents, there was all these iBuyers around the country. Real estate agents, don't really have the mechanism to actually fulfill this instant offer or this cash offer message, right? They have to go to like third-party companies. Yep. So we originally built Fello with the thesis that we were going to be the iBuyer for agents, and we were going to build technology and software that actually helped them generate cash offer leads, and then we would be the home buyer for those when they got a cash offer lead. Well, fast forward, we launched in June of 22. This was right when interest rates started rising from 3% to 4, 5, 6%. And all of a sudden we started halting our acquisitions because of the market volatility. And what we realized was agents were still reaching out to us because they wanted to partner, not because they wanted someone to buy the homes, but they wanted the seller lead gen out of it. So that was kind of our light bulb that went off and saying, wait, you guys don't care if someone buys the home or not. You just want the seller leads. So what if we flipped the platform around and actually just made it a database engagement platform that helps you generate seller leads out of your own database, right? And so we launched in October of 22. We completely shut down the iBuying side of our business. We launched in October of 22. You fast forward 18 months, we have probably 1,300 clients, teams on the platform. We are basically really focused on helping agents generate listings out of their database. One of the things that we've seen within millions and millions of databases that have been uploaded into ours is about 80% of their database is normally buyer leads, right? And we see that very few teams have very high intent around actually finding those sellers' addresses. And so what Fello does is it starts to help you actually find the homeowners that are in your database and then market to those homeowners by moving them down the funnel to actually converting them into a listing. And so it's just really interesting when you work with these top teams, 100,000 contacts in their database. Well, they only have 10, 20,000 actual homeowners. 80,000 of them are buyer leads that they bought over the past 10 years. They have no idea where they live. They have no intentionality on trying to turn them into a seller and trying to get them a listing. They incubate them with buyer messaging. And what we found is, over 50% of those people in your database actually own homes in your market. So it's like, why aren't we messaging them with seller messaging as well, trying to get them to convert into a listing?
So basically what you've done is you've taken the buyer leads, turn them around and move them forward. I just want to tell everybody that this process of Fello and what they do is really super cool, number one. And for you to have, I know two of your clients, Mark Gelman and Sanit Agarwal. These are two of the top teams in the country. I'm not talking about brand, I'm talking about country, right? Mark is EXP and Sanit is Big Block out in California. So, this shit works, right? So the process is really simple. So Ryan, I'm an agent, right? And I've got a database of leads that, I keep saying I need more leads, but I find and tell people all the time, we don't need more leads. We just need to be better conversion, right?
100%.
So what would you do for me? What would be my process, your process with me to help me?
Yeah. So here, I love asking this question. This is always the aha eye opener. I normally ask you and say, Dave, how many contacts do you have in your database?
I have about 15,000.
15,000. That's amazing. That's a really good foundation. Of those 15,000, how many of them are homeowners in your local serviceable market?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. That's the same answer we get from every agent we talk to. And that's the first problem, right? In order for us to help you start generating more listings in your market, we need to start identifying who are the homeowners that you already have, that you've already acquired, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to sync your database into Fello's platform. We're going to actually start messaging those people that you don't know where they live, a very simple message about getting their home value, right? With the intention of when they want to see their home value, they're actually going to give you their address, okay? And so what's happening is now you're going to start having all of these people in your database that you have no idea where they live start actually telling you, here's where I own my home, right? Now what we do is once we start actually month over month starting to convert all those people that you don't know where they live into homeowners, now we're going to start messaging of a higher intent messages to try to get them to raise their hand to ultimately get them to sell, and it's a very simple process. It's all automated. And what I don't want you to have to focus on is converting your database from buyers to homeowners. Let Fello do that. We completely automate everything. What I want you to focus on is being on the phones, being out on showings, being out on appointments, right? Let us work your database and create all this engagement. And then we'll pass it over to you so that you can have a conversation with them when they're ready to sell.
Okay, so I give you my database, you put in your system, and you start, what do you email? Text?
Email and direct mail.
Email and direct mail.
Yeah.
So actually snail mail we're talking about.
Yeah. What we found is that, especially over, I'd say probably the past 10 years, email inboxes are getting more saturated with spam and junk and stuff. We get so over inundated with email that we found that the actual mailbox outside is actually pretty empty these days, right? And so your message actually from a relevancy and from I would say from how much it actually they retain that message is actually a lot higher nowadays because less people are in the direct mail space.
Right. Exactly. And you know, over the years, I mean, having owned a brokerage and all that fun stuff that goes with it. Oh, Dave, let's send out postcards. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's, you know, it's not just the one thing. I mean, like you just said, I mean, it's the emails, it's everything else that you're doing as well. And then, okay, so you do the messaging, you do the emails, you do the direct mail. When is it time for me to get back involved in my database?
Yeah. So here's the cool thing about it. And you know, I've been on this whole journey over the past 19 days. I'm setting 30 listing appointments in 30 days. I'm at 19 listing appointments set right now. I actually have some lead gen right after this call. Hopefully I can set a couple today. Here's the cool thing. All we have to do is reach out to people that have engaged with us, right? One of the reasons why this is easy for me to set all these listing appointments out of a cold pipeline, out of a, well, it's not really cold, out of a pond, essentially people that I'm not, you know, these are not bottom of funnel leads, is because Fello has been incubating them. And all I'm doing is observing their behaviors. And when they engage with an email or a postcard, I'm reaching out to them, right? So these are leads from 6 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever, old buyer leads, old seller leads, etc. All that's happening is in the background, Fello is like my sidekick, incubating these opportunities, keeping them warm. All I'm doing is observing their behaviors and engagement and then calling them once they open that email. And I'm asking them a very basic question of, you know, if there was an opportunity to sell your home, even if it was off market, and it made financial sense, would you be open to looking at an offer? And I'm getting so many people that are saying like, depends what the number is, you know, why do you ask? And then it goes into this conversation of like, well, where would you go if we sold it, right? Oh, well, we've always wanted more space. We've always wanted to move to this subdivision. If I can find you something in that subdivision, even if it was off market, would you want me to send it to you? And then they say yes. And then I go to that subdivision and I start reaching out to people in my database in that subdivision. Hey, I've got these people that would love to move. We can do a private sale. We can keep it quiet. And it just starts creating all of this momentum of conversation, which creates opportunities.
Yeah. So the thing that's really interesting here is, you know, I'm sure you preach it and I do every day, is we're having conversations. We're not, I mean, yeah, sure. It's a script because everything we do is a script.
100%.
You know, but here's the thing, is like, you even just said it, just talking about it now, when you said, well, if I find you something in that subdivision, would you be interested? Just even the way you said it on this broadcast was like, so as a matter of fact, it wasn't, you didn't sound like a freaking robot, you know? And I think that's really, that's something that's really important. And okay, so I think we can both agree that that does take time to develop, because we all come into this business with the idea that we've got to talk like this, and this. And we all sound like shit, by the way. We all sound the same, right? And, you know, it's funny. I mean, just trying to have agents say, hey, look, just ask questions, you know? Well, I told them this. No, don't tell them shit. Just ask them questions. They don't need to know anything unless they give you something that they need to know. All right. So you brought up something that I was going to hit you with. And I used you as an example today of someone that's using technology, that part of your business and income is based on technology, but you're still hitting the phones, right? And now, granted, you told about the system of Fello, and then the phone time is what you're doing, but you're talking to the same people. And I want everybody to note as well that some of you said 6 years, 2 years, right? That these leads are that old. And this is all about getting through. Now, you're doing 30 listing appointments in 30 days. And I think you're on day 19.
Day 19. I'm at 19 listing appointments set. So I'm like slightly behind because I don't plan on calling on the weekends. So I got to, by the end of today, be at like 21. So I'm hoping to set a couple listing appointments today. But I know that if I right now, every hour and a half that I'm on the phone, I'm setting a listing appointment. So it's like, I can kind of scale that out and say, if I need to set 2 listing appointments today, I got to be on the phones 3 hours, you know?
Going back to basics, you know what you have to do to get that appointment. It's called If you're tracking what you're doing, and of course you've done this over a long time period,
sure,
I try to tell agents that the number one thing is that if it doesn't work for a couple of days, it doesn't mean it's not going to work in a few days. It's just like going to the gym. If you go to the gym for a couple of weeks in January and you say, this sucks, and then a week later you feel guilty and you go back, everything you did the first 2 weeks is gone.
Right.
It happens all the time. What about distractions? Okay, you set all this up and you're going to be distracted. Talk to me a little bit about what you do to get through distractions, because while your business is running and moving, I'm sure this still happens. So talk to me about your distractions and how you get through.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny because I've been documenting this entire process through social media, where, I think it was maybe 3 days ago, I didn't make a single phone call, right? And I said, I'm like, look, I ended up getting totally sucked into the business, into the whirlwinds, into putting out fires. For me, and I know this is so cliche and I know it's not what everyone wants to hear, but it's like the only way to avoid distractions is to do it first thing, do it in the morning, right? Right. It's just one of those things that my most productive days, like I work out at about 5:15 every morning. Like if I don't get that 5:15, there's a large probability I'm not working out. From there, I get all the things done that I need to do. And by noon, I almost feel like by noon, if I just shut it down for the rest of the day, I would feel pretty content with the day that I accomplished. And if I get more done, great. Where I have the most success, where I feel the best about my day, where I alleviate or veer away from distractions is when I do things first thing in the morning, and that's lead generation. My best days from lead gen are starting on the phones. We do a role play at 8:30 on the phones by 9, by 11:30. I know where the rest of my day is looking based on that. And it's like, I feel really good about it. And it's like, I just think I know it's very logical and it's very kind of cliche, but it's so true.
Hey, with all the shit that's going on, Ryan, is seller lead gen and this prospecting more important than ever?
No, it's always been more important than ever. And I know I have always felt so, we launched Fello 18 months ago and everyone was buying buyer leads and Zillow Flex and all these other, big buyer portals selling buyer leads. Like nothing wrong with that, right? But I was just always the guy that said we need a strategy to generate listings, right? And so I don't think that, I think maybe from a psychological standpoint, I could see how agents all of a sudden say like, wow, this is way more important now. Like this has always been the number one priority, in my opinion, to teams that scale their business profitably, with predictability. If you know how to generate listings consistently, you have such a competitive advantage in your market. You have brand awareness. You have, in my opinion, more ability to scale because of the inbound lead flow that you generate on your open houses. You have retention of agents because you know how to generate, if you're a team, retention of agents because you know how to generate listing opportunities. So it's just something I felt always very passionate about, whether the settlement or changes in the industry are happening. This should have been the way it always has been, in my opinion.
So your business has been listing based to begin with, and that's what you did, right?
Ever since expireds and FSBOs, and then starting with the guaranteed sale in 2013, 14, whatever that was, all the way to doing a cash offer. We've always been listing based.
So I'm going to ask you for help from my business. Okay.
Love it.
Agents that have limiting beliefs. They have a fear of making the call, and they want to, rather than disappoint me, tell me that they did this call, they did that call. But I know damn well that it's this beginning of this feeling. You know what I'm talking about? This feeling in here when you're about to pick up that 700-pound phone, right? Is there a trick? Is there something that you tell yourself? Is there an alter ego that you have to have in order to start so that you can build that 18-month process?
I'll say this. I have publicly declared to the real estate industry that I'm going to set 30 listing appointments in 30 days, right? Once I have made that declaration and I have made that commitment publicly, now all of a sudden the fear of not delivering, right, definitely weighs more than the 700-pound phone, right? So what I would say is, whether it's the public declaration or whatever it does, where whatever's on the other side, if you don't pick up the phone, hurts more, right? That's how you, like, I don't love picking up the phones. It's like, but I've always done it as a vehicle of a way to, like, here, I need to generate more revenue. I want to scale my team. This is how I need to, like, I right now have challenged myself publicly to everyone. And when I'm thinking about, I just don't want to do it today, it's like, well, every day I'm making an update at the end of the day. And how many days in a row can I say, I just didn't feel like calling, right? Where people literally just lose interest and be like, wow, it's like, I remember the first day I set 3 appointments, first day. And I was like, oh my God, this is like going to be really easy. The second day I didn't set a single appointment and everyone was like cheering me on. They're like, it's okay. Like, you're making us feel like we're actually like normal people because we don't set appointments every day. And after the first day, when you set 3, it made me feel bad about myself. Then on day 3, I think I set 1 appointment and they're like, see, look, and it's like, now all of a sudden I have people cheering me on. And when I'm sitting there saying, I don't want to do this, it's like, I don't want to disappoint those people,
Right.
And
right.
I would challenge yourself to play that game and to gamify this in a way where, that the only option is picking up the phone, because the other side of the option is more detrimental, disappointment, etc.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different games to play when it comes to getting this work done. For me, I know that I'm going to do this broadcast every Friday, and it's like, as I keep moving on, I got to keep going. I've got to keep it going one way or shape or form. I have to do it. And it's the same as what you're doing. I mean, is it a habit? Yeah, kind of is, but it's so easy to break that habit. But man, I want to, didn't turn my phone off, so that's not good. Anyway, man, I want to thank you so much for being on today. We're up against our time. And if anybody wants to reach Ryan, his Instagram is on the screen at Ryan Young Fello, Fello. And his email and website are scrolling on the bottom. Ryan, I want to thank you so much for being on. I do have one question and one other thing for you. One is, how do I help you grow your business?
I mean, I think we're doing it right now. I just appreciate the support and the exposure and visibility. And, I am so friggin' passionate about this whole seller side of the business, the database mindset, et cetera, that it's like generating listings out of your database. Right. Anyone we talk to, that if that's important to them, I would love an intro. If someone wants to start generating more listings, if they want to start moving their business over to being more listing based, I would love the opportunity to help them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And one of the things that you told me when we met the other day is, Dave, I had to come on because I had to get that hat.
I want the hat. My hat's all beat up and tired. I want the hat.
The hat's coming. Hey, man, I want to thank you so much again for being on. Next week, we have Dorley Leva coming on. She's going to talk about some great innovative marketing things that she's done to get buyers and sellers and stuff. So here we just keep it going. We keep going every week. We've got Lindsay Stevens coming on, Vic DeCara coming on. We've got all kinds of different other people coming on. Ed Stulak's coming on. Over the next several months. We've got a lot of great things going on. Ryan, thank you so much. Please stay on for a second as we go off. We'll see everybody next week with Dorley.
Number 604.
All right.